Slater here with Prime Spine Consulting, and I'm honored to have with me today in this interview Amanda Walker. Amanda Walker was the previous marketing director for the Nick Schneider law firm, and I'd like to welcome her to this interview. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this for me. So my question is, tell me how you became the marketing director for Nick Schneider Law. I know, well, just go ahead and tell me how it happened, what was your background, and how you became the marketing director for Nick.
Sure. I'll give you a little history and tell you how it happened. Try not to be long-winded, but I went to UGA and studied marketing and Spanish there. I worked for Groupon for a little while, and shortly after that, I became a commercial insurance agent. So I was doing property, casualty, workers' comp. As an independent agent, working with companies, and a lot of the business I acquired was through networking, just meeting other CFOs or HR directors and getting introductions to companies that they worked with or for, or their connections. And I was involved in several different marketing groups and networking groups. Nick was as well. So for those that are familiar with the personal injury industry, there are a lot of personal injury specific networking groups, but there's also a lot of other networking groups that the attorneys will attend as well. So he met me at one of those, and with him being a personal injury attorney and myself on the insurance side, we would sometimes collaborate on our presentations together to try to get business to help people understand the two different sides of the story. And so as we, became friends, we were probably in, several overlapping networking groups over the course of a year. As we got closer and were working together and doing presentations together, he would, tease me to come to the good side. And, you're on the dark side, the insurance company. I was like, what are you talking about? This is a great career. I've represented the companies. I'm getting all these certifications, educating them. And Nick, was pretty persistent. And, like I said, we're becoming friends. So he would, say at like some of the networking groups and happy hour events, hey, I can tell you really are not an insurance person. What do you really want to do with your life? And at that point, being a little more comfortable with him, and I told him, I really want to pursue art. Like, I love art. I've always had a passion for art. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I'm starting to explore that again, and just barely showing it to the public and posting about it on social media sometimes, and just friends and family knowing what I do. I have received some orders from it. So I would eventually like to pursue my art passion. And he said, well, if you come work for me, then you'll have the flexibility to grow that as well. Because he'd mentioned coming to work with him several times. It's like, no, I've got this book of business, I'm growing. You see what I'm presenting in these networking groups. So you see how I'm helping the companies. You see the importance of insurance as the attorney. But it was all, a facade. I was not really into insurance. It was I would start to tell him stories of, I'm walking into the insurance office and I physically am sick trying to open the door because it is so painful. There's so much resistance to that career. It was just not part of me. It was not my creative self. So he knew I had this creative side, and he was starting to get busier as an attorney. His business was pretty new at the time. He had 4 employees.
I remember. You had one office, one attorney, and just 4 total employees when I first met Nick. And this is before you worked there.
Right. Yeah.
He actually introduced us just to do some entrepreneurial meetings, even before you worked for Nick. So go ahead.
Right. Yes, I remember that. He said, I want you to meet Mark because I feel like you guys would really click. Y'all have your similar personalities and your entrepreneurial spirit. So yes, he introduced us. He was in a small office off the Marietta Square. And there was one particular day that I'd had all this information in the back of my mind of Nick saying, I can tell you're not really an insurance person. And I had, given him some information about how I was having some resistance and what I really wanted to do. And I had a particularly difficult day on the insurance side, or in the office that day, talking to some underwriters, and just, the main thing was our personalities just did not click at all. They were not my people. I was more creative, like outgoing type of person. They're very intelligent people, very actuarial, but It's just hard
Analytic.
for us to create a relationship.
Yeah, very analytic.
Yes,
That part of
yeah.
the thing. Yeah.
Very analytical, logical, actuarial.
Yeah.
Great. We obviously need them, but it was a difficult relationship
Yeah. Numbers
nurturing
and
that relationship
formulas
with him.
and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, right. And I'm more of a people person and creative and like free flowing so I called Nick and I said, "Hey, are you at the office?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Well, I'm going to come by and talk to you about what we were talking about the other day." And he said, "All right, come on over." So I went to his office and I said, "All right, I do want to start my art business. I'm having a lot of resistance in the insurance business, and I'm happy to help you with your marketing, but I feel like you're doing a great job," because he had gone out on his own I guess he had started his business 2 years before I joined him. And he left while his wife was pregnant with their first child, and she had just quit her job. And so I always had an admiration of what he was able to do for himself.
I saw him at every personal injury event for like years. I see he's at every
Yeah.
one. So he was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we, he said, "All right, let me draft something up for you. Tell me what you want. And I'm gonna trust your creative judgment." I'm like, "Well, I wanted to know what you've done to make, grow your business so far." And he had recently hired an associate attorney. So what's working for you? I don't want to not, fix anything that's not broken. Let's keep doing what's working. And then
Yeah.
I'll add what I know, because I've never worked for a law firm before. I was on the insurance side and I was very sales oriented. And you can't be a salesy type of person working for a law firm. That's illegal. So it's more about relationships, nurturing, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Exactly. Okay. So just in full transparency, you resigned from Nick a month ago or so. Correct?
Yes, yeah. So I left in the beginning of August. So yep, we're in September now. So it's been about a
Yeah.
month since
Just
I
want
left.
to be transparent. But in the
Yeah.
time since he hired you with one location and 4 employees,
Mhm.
when you resigned, tell me where Nick Schneider Law is today.
So he has 3 locations now. He has 3 associate attorneys and working on his 4th, and he has over 30 employees.
Okay. So there was some growth that was happening while you were there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It was
good.
definitely a team effort, but
For
yeah,
sure.
we
Okay.
it was a whirlwind. It was amazing. Mhm.
Right. But you left on good terms and it was just strictly to pursue your art business. There's nothing happened.
Yes, absolutely. I actually had a conversation with him, very open dialogue in the spring, and said, "Hey, this is, we talked about my art business when I started, and
Yeah.
this is what's happening with it. It's becoming very successful. I appreciate, the partnership we've had. And let's discuss, what would be the ideal outcome of me exiting look like for you as well as me." And
Right.
we came to an agreement on that. Very
Perfect.
open conversation.
Okay.
Just to get clear with each other, and it was great.
Perfect. So the reason that I want to interview Amanda is I have clients that have marketers that are reaching out to law firms like the Nick Schneider Law Firm to talk to the Amandas, the case managers, and the Nick Schneiders. So that's how I want to steer the conversation. So as the marketer of Nick Schneider Law, you have marketers from the medical community, chiropractic community, or even chiropractors or the doctors themselves reach out to you or Nick. So tell me, how do you handle marketers that reach out to you via cold phone call, an email? Tell me a little bit about that process when the medical community reaches out to you to try to initiate a relationship.
We were always very open to it. So a lot of times if someone reached out directly to Nick, he would forward it to me because I would filter through who we needed to speak with.
Okay, so let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Filtering through.
Mhm.
Who were some like immediate disqualifiers? Did you have any of those? In other words, what was your process? And so let's just start there.
Sure. So as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening are aware, the personal injury industry is very tight-knit community. So if there's any bad reputations, or if, there's someone in our office, as we grew, we established director roles. If there is anyone that had a bad experience with someone in the past, we're very, this is our family, this is our team. If someone has a bad working experience with someone, we're not going to, try to reestablish that relationship, and unless they try to fix that with said person first. And there wasn't a lot of that. That wasn't usually an issue, but we would know because we all communicated well with each other internally.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, maybe, once or twice that happened, that I noticed, and it was known. It was like, they didn't handle our, client right, their patient right. There was a miscommunication here that, caused a situation with the case. So something like that, or, maybe there was another firm that we work closely with, that we share cases with, and they had a bad experience. And we're like, oh, we can't risk that. So
Gotcha.
I mean, mostly reputation situations, but
So
for
you're
the most
talking,
part, we're open.
okay, good. So you're talking a little bit about reputations, and I know you're talking about reputations as far as your firm's experience with them, but just out of curiosity, did you ever look at people's social media accounts or Facebook or any of that before you made a decision? I'm just curious if that was part of your process.
Yeah. Yes. So definitely their website, and usually, yeah, we look at their Facebook or their Instagram, LinkedIn as well too. Yeah.
Anything that
Um,
raised red flags that would make you not want to work with a company based on their social media? You don't give specifics, but basically a yes or no question.
Yeah, just yes, yeah, like any kind of signs of unprofessionalism, or um anything that we'd see that you know that would not look good for our clients. Like, we're very protective of our clients, which I'm sure a lot of law firms are, and doctors' offices are as well. So yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
not only, Amanda, did you reach out and try to establish relationships with the medical community because maybe you didn't have somebody in Dacula, Georgia. So maybe you reached out to doctors in that area to figure out who is the best fit to send a client to, should you have a client in there.
Mhm.
So my question is, you also reached out to other attorneys because Nick is a trial attorney too.
Mhm.
You
Right.
farm your own cases, new PI cases, but you will also reach out to attorneys who will not try a case, and Nick will try the case for them. So that was part of your marketing role too, correct?
Right, right. That was a huge part, especially in the beginning. So I was mostly working externally, asking, because that's what he did as well. And it worked really well for him, is he would ask attorneys, like door knock, literally knocking on doors of attorneys' offices when in his first year of business, before anyone was working for him, and ask them
Yeah.
for cases that they did not want, because he would try them. Cases that they would typically settle, he would try. And so, yeah, my first couple of years at the firm, I was definitely doing the same thing. Like, we'll try cases. Nick enjoys trying cases. He's no stranger to taking cases to court or filing them. So we will handle those for you.
Yeah, if you want a fighter, you hire Nick Schneider.
Yeah, that's right.
You can take credit for coming up with that, Amanda, if you
Actually, his mom came up with that.
did. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, his mom came up with that right when he was starting the business. So we, got that and a couple other slogans copyrighted for him.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the question I have for you is, when these doctors would reach out to you or marketers to try to initiate a relationship, so let's say you haven't had any type of history with them,
Mhm.
what are some things you were looking from out of those doctors or doctors' offices that made you and Nick want to work with that company? Anything specific that sticks out?
Yeah, if they had on their social media or their website that they work with personal injury cases or have experience with that, is very important that they understand, how to handle those types of patients. It's very important to the case
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm. So a newer doctor, that wasn't something that Nick was interested in dealing with?
No, I mean, uh, not really. Maybe in the early days, yes, he wouldn't, say we're definitely not having a lunch meeting with them. Um, or anything. Like, we would entertain them, and maybe they were getting into personal injury, just like Nick was. I mean, he had a lot of personal injury experience from working with previous firms, but he was new in his practice, so he couldn't turn his nose up to new doctors. But he definitely needed them to have an interest and an understanding in personal injury, and have someone that could support them. So if they were new to it, do you know other doctors that understand personal injury and treating patients that are personal injury
Okay.
patients?
And did you also ask questions of, let's say, chiropractors? Do they have relationships with, let's say, orthos and neuros and interventional pain doctors? Was that something that you would ask? Was that important to you? And Nick?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I wouldn't, if I was meeting with them myself, I wouldn't necessarily get into all of that. But when I bring them into the meeting with Nick or Nick into the meeting with us, he definitely would want to know like who they were working with
Right.
and what kind of network they had.
Exactly. So if the doctor, verbalized that, said we have relationships with so-and-so orthopedics, so-and-so neuro, so-and-so interventional pain.
Right.
Another thing is, what if a doctor didn't contact you first and say, hey, we're referring it to so-and-so orthopedics? Was there ever a situation where Nick does not have a good relationship with so-and-so orthopedics, and that referral caused some friction in the relationship with the doctor that made that referral?
I didn't ever witness that personally. What I would hear Nick say most of the time is, you're the doctor. I want you to make the decision on what's in the best interest of the patient. So he did say that a lot. I think a lot of times he did. I think some of our case managers that were a little more involved in the case, they would have preferences, but they would ultimately imitate what Nick would say as well. Like, we're going to trust your judgment. You're the doctor. We want you to, refer them to who you think is best.
Got it.
Mhm.
So when, let's say, a medical or chiropractic marketer walked into the office and you happen to be there, what's going to get you to come out of the office and engage with them? Did you do that all the time if you were there? And what are some things that they say that we say, okay, I want Nick to meet this doctor or doctor's office through this marketer?
Mm.
Talk a little bit about that.
So if they came to the office, a lot of time I was not there because I was, like I said, I was very external and I was working from home a lot. So they would, if they brought any kind of treats or information or were kind to the staff would connect them with me. If they were, rude or, if they, just came in in a very demanding and curt way, the staff would let me know these people want to meet with you and Nick, or they want to set up a lunch with you. Here's their information. This is how we were treated.
Oh, very good.
So, and that was huge for office, and not just Nick, but like myself and the other directors as well. How are you treating our staff? Because they have a lot, every person in the office, is touching the case at some point or the other, speaking with the patients. They're very involved as well and know who we're sending them to. So we definitely want them to be treated well. So if there were not, we were just like, oh, if our staff is unhappy with you, it's going to be hard for us to work with you. Because we ultimately want to keep everyone happy internally, because that's how we have smooth operations and that's how we give the clients a better experience as well.
That's right. And so the message here is, be nice to those front desk people, the gatekeepers, because the gatekeepers hold the key to the gate to letting you back to meet an Amanda and a Nick.
Right. And that was my experience as well when I was calling on other law firms to ask, to meet with case managers or intake, the founding attorneys, whoever was in charge of sending out cases or partnering with other law firms on cases. Was you usually got to them through the person at the front desk. It was not, speak to them first and treat them like the boss, because a lot of times they are on wearing several hats for that business.
Right. I mean, I sometimes say to them, they're paid to kick you out of there.
Yeah, right.
To treat them nice.
So I got, my best relationship started with having a great relationship with the front desk person. And sometimes even if the attorney wasn't there, I would still make an appointment with the person at the front desk and sit with her or him for 30 minutes or an hour and bring them treats or talk to them, because they know what's going on. And they relay that information to everyone in the office as well. So if the directors know that they're happy with you and that you took the time to understand what's going on, treated them well, they're happy, they're going to want you to come back and speak with them.
Great advice. I love it. I know I may have asked this already, but was there ever a situation where you had a client that needed care, but they lived in an area where you really didn't know a chiropractor or a doctor within 30 or 45 minutes? Mm-hmm. What was your process of finding a doctor for that specific client?
Yeah, so that did happen a lot. And it wasn't me, personally dealing with those case managers. I think Nick was even a little hands off with that in the later years or these past couple of years.
Yeah.
But they would, building those relationships with other doctors that, making a post on Facebook. There are some communities that people have developed on LinkedIn, on Facebook, just text groups, staying in touch with people. Uh, you know, nourishing your connections and your resources and asking who they would recommend. And also, we really enjoyed being a resource for people that would ask us too, because we all were very, I was networking all the time. Nick loves networking. That's, a lot of his business was based on building and nourishing relationships. And so he loved being a resource to refer, other attorneys or doctors to people that he knows and trusts. So so we'd say things like, we work with, this company, we work with this doctor, we recommend them. So we would do the same and ask other law firms who they work with.
Got it. Let me ask you this question. Are you aware, or let me just ask it like this. Did Nick have the attitude where I'll send you one PI case and you have to reciprocate one back? Did Nick feel that it had to be a one-for-one reciprocal relationship with these chiropractors or doctors? Expound on that a little bit.
No, not at all. And that was actually, you talked, like we were chatting before we started this call about, what's a turn off or what's a turn on for working with someone. And if someone had that attitude, that was definitely a turn off for us. For Nick and I both. If someone said, we'll send you a case, but you've got to send us 2 patients first. We're like, what? Yeah. So yeah, it really doesn't work well to do the tit for tat type of model.
So basically, Amanda, if Nick had a relationship with a guy, let's say in Marietta, and he just got 4 or 5 cases in Marietta that needed care because they had a viable case, and he has a relationship and he really likes the work that they do, would it be safe to say that they're most likely going to get those cases?
Yeah, there are several chiropractors that, we send them lots of cases, and maybe we send them 10 cases a month and they send 1 a year, but we appreciate the work that they do. They're very, they're great handling personal injury patients. They know what they're doing. They provide good medical records for Nick. They communicate well with the staff. They communicate with the patient, communicating with the staff, letting them know what's going on with the patient. That is the best reciprocation that we could receive from a doctor, is helping us develop a case for a patient.
Right. So you can get a higher case value, bigger settlement. That has value for you as well, rather than just referring a patient.
Right. And that's going to be more of a win for everyone, the patient, the doctor, our firm, if we can develop a good case and a good outcome for them, more than, just sending back and forth, little cases that are not receiving any care or communication.
Got it. A few more questions for you, Amanda. One of them is, list maybe 1 or 2 pet peeves that enter your brain when talking about marketers for the medical community or doctors in the medical community. Can you think of any, like 1 or 2 pet peeves, like, oh my God, if they did this, this would make my skin crawl and I don't ever want to deal with this person?
So since I had a sales background, I don't have like a ton of pet peeves, because I'm always just curious everyone's approach. And we've, had so many attorneys' offices and, chiropractors and marketers, approach us with all different levels. And I'm always curious, like, what is their sales training? What are they being taught? I'm always curious what's going on with them. But for Nick, I think it was not like, he's so big on relationship building and he just believes in it so much. Like, he doesn't want to work with someone that doesn't want to get to know him and show that they care about his business and want to have an open dialogue with him. If they're just coming in or just like, pounding out bullet points of information of why we're the best, why you should work for us. I've had a meeting where, they're not even acknowledging me or, other directors that are in the room. They're just like pounding out bullet points to him. And Nick is like, you haven't asked us any questions, or I will even stop them like, this whole list, this whole slide that you're presenting to us is not relevant because you didn't even find out, what we do. So you're wasting your time, and this is, annoying for us. So let's back up, and how about we tell you a little bit about our firm and, how we got started, how we like to operate. And then why don't you provide, just a little like sales coaching there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, I guess that was annoying to me too, because I would speak up and say something about it sometimes.
yeah, let me ask you this, because I've talked to some attorneys, and what they tell me is that these meetings, 80% of the time, they just want to get to know the doctor or the marketer as a person. Are they married? Are
Right,
they single? Do they have kids? Do their kids play softball or basketball?
right,
Are you from this area? Like, get to know you as
right.
a person, because they have to know you, like you, and trust you. And they're
Yeah.
never going to learn that if you just go with bullet point. This is what my office does. And I'll like, that's not,
Right,
never,
exactly. And many times you're going to be spending more time with these people than your own family. The amount of time you're talking to them, you're texting them, it's crazy hours. You've got like a case that you're developing or a patient that you've got to refer. And yeah, you want to enjoy the people that you're spending all this time with and that you're texting with. A lot of times it's, informal, conversation when you're referring cases to each other. It's a text like, hey, do you have I know it's 9 p.m. on a Sunday, but do you have a chance a moment to talk about this case?
yeah, get it. Yeah. Like, if you just go right into the shop talk, doesn't
Yeah.
move the needle of,
It's
it
so
doesn't,
hard to have those conversations when you're, it's the end of the week and it's a Friday and you need to refer something out and it's very like all business.
right.
Like, yeah, obviously keep it professional. That's a red flag too. If someone's, acting like you're best friends and you've only known each other for a week, but yeah, take the time to understand, what is our individual and mutual goal here.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's acting like that, they're not being authentic. They're putting on a show. And
Right.
to me, that's a turn off. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. It's because
Um,
sometimes we would interrupt someone, say, hey, like, are you from Atlanta? Like, tell me a little bit about you. How long have you been working with this company or office?
yeah, for
Are you
sure.
new to this industry? What's your story? So yeah, our best relationships were nourished by learning a little bit about background. We all want to know, how did you get into the personal injury? Because no one industry, most people don't grow up thinking, I'm going to be a doctor in the personal injury industry. I'm going to,
Right.
it just kind of happens. So we're always curious, what's your story? What's your journey? Because Nick has a great story, a personal story for why he decided to become a personal injury attorney. It wasn't necessarily because personal injury attorneys can be one of the most profitable um, law industries to be a part of. It was, it was a personal story for him. So anyone that he can find a commonality with, then he's going to want to help you grow as well.
Exactly. In the last 60 seconds, the word story has come up 4 times. People love
Mm,
stories. The story of how you became a lawyer, story how you became a doctor. Tell a story about how you took a case that you thought was crap and made it into something incredible, either on the medical or the legal side. So share a story.
right. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Because people can identify with stories.
That's
They
right.
remember stories.
Love it. Well, last question here, Amanda. Again,
Okay.
thank you so much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. I just want to help my clients shed some light on, what does the other side want to hear? What do they not want to hear? What's going to turn you on and get you want to work with these companies? So the question is, um, when evaluating doctors to work with, what was
Mhm.
the one or two X factors that you may have been looking for to decide, yeah, this is an outfit that we feel comfortable sending our clients to? Is there one or two X factors that you were looking for?
Yeah, I mentioned this several times, but I'll say it again because it was one of the most important, was personal injury experience. So knowing how to work with a personal injury patient, understanding that process and understanding how much communication that it's not like we need to speak with the doctor every day, but if something happens with the case, if they don't show up to an appointment, if something's changing, we need to know
The
because we are trying
communication.
to. Right, communication is huge. Communication is huge, and also just having experience with, and I feel like the communication comes from the experience. I think those, instead of being two separate things, I think that's one and the same. Because if you have personal injury experience as a medical professional, then you probably understand how important it is to communicate with the case managers and the attorneys and let them know if any changes happen.
Right. Patient missed 2 appointments. I haven't seen them. We called them, emailed them, text message. We got nothing. You need to
Right.
know that, because they're more
Right.
likely to return the attorney's number than the doctor's number, because the doctor isn't going to be paying them at the end.
Right. And that, yes. And so that's huge for a case, and not just for, the attorney. Everyone thinks like, oh, the attorney, but it's about the patient and the doctor as well. You want your bills paid. So you want to, yeah, the more we know in the office internally, everyone in the office knows, because we need to, log that in the system. Everyone that's touching that case needs to understand what's going on. And then also, we keep talking about the relationship. So I think that is also huge as well. Just having a good relationship, making it easy to work with you. We enjoy seeing you. I think that's why the events and the networking is so successful in the personal injury industry. And I know there's a lot of people in the industry that don't attend those, and that's fine. I think you can definitely be successful and nourish and nurture those relationships without attending the events, but do it in your way. Find a way that you enjoy doing it. Nick loves going to the events and meeting the people there and trying the new restaurants and doing like all the fun things that they do. He loves that and he thrives in doing that. And his energy is just exuberant when he's, networking with these people. So he attracts like people, and they all love working together. I've met other attorneys' offices where they love doing community things. They will get involved in like a softball team, and they advertise all. We didn't do any of that. I think we did dip our toe in that a little bit, but that was not natural for us as an office. And that was not Nick's natural personality. So there are some offices that, really lean into working with schools. Nick he volunteered to help high school students with mock trial and things like that. So he loved that. And he got some like family friend referrals because of doing it. So do what you love. If you want to nourish relationships, find out what you love to do and nourish relationships in that way with that hobby.
Yeah. I mean, you and Nick threw your own events and invited all the chiropractors and other attorneys and relationships that you had. I've been to your events.
Right. We'd take our top referral partners to Braves games or, to dinners. And yes, there's so many different ways and it always worked out. They always enjoyed it because it wasn't like, oh, is everyone going to like this? This, guy likes this woman loves this, it always worked out that everyone loved whatever we planned because they were all like-minded people, because he was just naturally attracting the people that he liked to do business with. And so I was always mindful of that. There were certain people that I enjoyed visiting and doing business with, but also if I found someone that's like this, you and Nick, y'all have your favorite football team. You love to do this. How have y'all not met yet? Easy to make the connection.
That's right. And we've talked so much about relationships, and that's what personal injury is all about. And I got to tell you, I didn't have a practice. I wasn't working or representing a doctor when you guys opened your new office, but I still sent you something because we have a relationship, and it didn't just end because I'm not a provider anymore.
Wow. Yes. That is so powerful. Yeah. And thank you so much for that. That is so powerful. And I think that, that's how it works. That's how it's done. Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say this for sure, but you probably wouldn't have done this interview with me if I didn't continue to reach out every once in a while, send you a text, see you at an event, and
right. If the last time we talked was, in 2017 or whenever Nick introduced us, which was before I was officially working with him, they were open like Mark Slater. But you've kept in touch with me and nourished the relationship, and always, how's everything going? What's going on with you? What's new in your life?
Yeah, I'd see that you open a new office. Hey, Amanda, congratulations. That's great. Tell me about that. And I ended up sending like cookies or something.
Yeah.
Just because we have a relationship.
Right. So you're always relevant in our office. So when you would send something, Nick would text me, if I was out, in a meeting or something, it's like, Mark Slater just sent something over to us, and so it was a team effort too. So we're always, it's really a big family.
That's awesome. Well, Amanda, unless you have any last minute parting shots to expound some knowledge about your role in dealing with marketers that reach out to you, I want to thank you sincerely for doing this interview with me. Not only are you helping me by providing great content for my clients, but you're going to be helping these chiropractors and doctors all over the country kind of understand the legal side of marketing and what happens when marketers walk in, and what that communication looks like. So again, thank you so much for doing this. So, before I let you go, any last minute things maybe floating around in your head that you want to share with my clients and people that may be consuming this video?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored that you are asking my opinion about all of these things. So I appreciate that. And last minute pearls of wisdom.
Yeah. Sorry
uh,
to put you on the spot.
Yeah, and I think if you're working with Mark, you've already made a great decision. Mark is great at everything that we talked about in this video. There's definitely several ways to grow a business, and we've explored in the law firm so many different ways. We've done billboards, we've done radio, digital marketing, social media, giveaways, community efforts. And it always goes back to what was natural for us. And it was easy to do what I saw. It's Nick's name on it's his business, it's his name. And so always wanted to cultivate what was him and what was natural for him. And so that was the nourishing the relationship. So we never took even when we were trying other marketing efforts, we never took our foot off the gas pedal of that. That was always 80% of the business, was nourishing and nurturing the relationships. And I think if anyone has interest in doing that, I think you, Mark, are a great example to follow with that for, the reasons that we just explained. But I've seen you at the networking groups, and it's natural for you. So I think be yourself.
Yes.
I enjoy the networking too. So I think that's part of the reason Nick, poked me for over a year to come join him, was he saw that it was natural for me, and he wanted to work with like-minded people, not just as his referral sources, but also internally. So I think it's good to, if you see someone doing something else, every law firm, like I said, we work with a lot of law firms. Every law firm had such a different business model for marketing. I mean, some people really leaned into Google AdWords specifically, and they mastered the algorithm, and they had companies doing it, and they were doing it themselves, and they were like business minds and attorneys doing that. The nourishing the relationships, that was our thing. And that way we could explain how we took cases to trial and how we're different from other law firms, or how we can be an accompaniment to a current law firm's existing practices.
Yeah. And in my opinion, I agree with you, because relationships are evergreen as long as you continue to nurture them. I mean, they'll last as long as you water the grass.
Yeah.
But with something like digital marketing or TV commercials or radio commercials, you're not really building relationships. When you turn it off or stop doing it, your phone stops ringing, and you haven't made any relationships in the market. And it's like starting from square one again.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So they all have a great place, but yeah, there is something to be said about the relationships, and also the resources that you can gain from your relationships.
Got it. Well, Amanda, thanks again. Everyone, Amanda Walker, former marketing director of Nick Schneider Law here in Atlanta, Georgia. Amanda, again, thank you so much for doing this for me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
My pleasure.